Hello. Hear me? Music pretty loud. My name is Linda Tozer, and I don't think anybody here really knows who I am. Oh, I have to do this. And yes, I am a mother of a dead teenager. And I'm another mother. And there's mothers sitting here in the front that are also mothers of dead teenagers. I don't think that any of you know my son either, because he didn't go to Middle Township. His name was Matthew Tozer. Matthew would have graduated in the class of 2010, but he went to Tech. He was at the end of his sophomore year, and they had given him his ring. His dad now wears his ring all the time around his neck. The main thing I want to stress to you is that you're not so different. He was a cute kid. Now I want everybody to say, ah. And I imagine that some of you even were cute when you were that age. I'm thinking some. By looking at you now, I'm thinking some. Well, you know. Now, his bangs were a little too short, right? A little too short, a little crooked. Okay. If you notice in this picture, there's three of the same person. You did that himself. He was at the computer, he was shooting a paintball gun and sitting there contemplating life, I guess. You're not so different than him. You're responsible when you get behind the wheel of a car. And not only are you responsible for you, you're responsible for everybody that's in that car with you. And driving really is a privilege that you've been given. And when we get behind the wheel, we have to take that moment to really think, I'm responsible for myself and everybody here. Now, Matthew was just like you in the fact that he had a girlfriend. He was 16, was Amanda, which graduated from Middle Township. And of course, they were in love, which some of you may be also. So he wasn't so different that way. He had this fro of sorts in his hair, and when he was allowed to grow it longer when he was in Tech, he's kind of known for his bushy mane. And he liked it. And he kind of hid behind it a little bit, but he liked being known as the kid with the bushy hair. I think if it was possible, even more than he loved Amanda, he loved his moped. Now, the first thing, when you're 15, you can get a license for a moped. So, with that license, and with the money he saved for a moped, he had freedom. He didn't have to wait for every parent in the house to say, oh, I'll take you there, or an older brother, I'll take you there. He had freedom and he had independence. And I think he loved his moped more than anything. He also had friends. You know, you all have friends. You have people you care about. He also had a commitment. He had him and a former teacher of his rented a building in the Villas, and they made it into a fun center for teens. And he helped build a lot of the things inside, and it was called Alternate Destination. It was just a place you could go where you were safe, and games and things that were there, and people would talk to you and be friends with you. So he had that commitment. He was also going to go on a mission trip. He wanted to be a carpenter, so he was going to go to Mexico and help build houses the following month that he had died. So, you know, we all have things that we're involved in, we all have things that we have passions for, and he did too. Well, one day, he was driving his moped, and he had souped it up a little bit, you know, so it went a little faster than it probably should have gone, just like you do with your own cars. And he was going to meet his friend up in the Dennisville area, and then they were going to come back to our house. And while he was driving this moped, possibly a little fast, a drunk driver was coming the other way. He had opened bottles of vodka in his car. He wasn't allowed to drink at home, his wife said, so he would drink at his place of business, I guess, where he worked, and also in the car. So he had drank so much vodka that he passed out at the wheel. So he had no control over how his car was going, where it was going. And he hit this 16-year-old kid straight on with his car, threw Matthew into the windshield and off to the side of the road. Matthew's legs were shredded. They weren't sure they could stop the bleeding. He had a tear in his aorta. They had to helicopter him to Atlantic City first, and then when they found out he had the tear in the aorta, they couldn't stop the bleeding, they sent him up to Cooper. So within 10 hours of his accident, he passed away from massive injuries. Now, I know that some of you are sitting here thinking, I can't wait for this assembly to get over. I got things to do, I got plans to make, I gotta get my hair done tomorrow, I gotta, you know, get my suits out, you know. And I can understand all that. So we're not trying to cramp your style or make you have a miserable prom. We're just trying to show you that an average student, an average kid, he had average grades, he wasn't a superstar in sports or anything in particular, but that the average teen could end up like him. Matt and there's another mother up here of a dead teenager. Her son was Kevin Lamb, and he had gone through Middle Township Elementary. And he also died. And both these boys they had plans, they had commitments, they had things they wanted to do in life, and both of these boys were dead at age 16 and 17. And in both cases, there was either speeding, alcohol, or drugs with Miss Lozier. And it wasn't their fault. It was just, this is what was involved in their lives being taken. They had a large, we had over 400 people come to his service. That's his girlfriend and her brother in the back. There were people there I didn't even know knew him. I didn't know. There were friends of ours. Each one of these people were affected in some way or the other. It's not like if you're in an accident, it's just you. It's like everybody in your car, their parents, their siblings. Matt has 2 other siblings that have to live with the fact that he's no longer here. He was an uncle. He's no longer here for his niece and nephews. Of course, he was a son, and of course, he was a brother. But his friends were changed too. So when you get in that car, it's more of a responsibility for your loved ones that you're taking on every time you go behind the wheel. Of course, he had a mom and a dad who loved him. He had a brother and sister that loved him. The drunk driver knew, you know, he couldn't defend himself. He had alcohol right in the car. and he passed out. So he pleaded guilty. He got 9 years, and he only had to serve 7, and he's still in prison today. He had no injuries, and in a lot of cases with drunk drivers, they don't seem to get hurt. It's the people that they hit that are killed or injured. This was Matt. This was Matt. The other thing I just want to stress, like I said, I know you're anxious to get out of here. You're anxious to get on with your lives and things you got to do today. If you're distracted or you're driving and you cause the death of your friends, your family, or even yourself, your future is never going to be the same again. And everyone you know will be shaken to the core. It's not just something you get over, it's something that's with you the rest of your life. So we're only asking you to, when you drive, think. Just pause for a moment behind the wheel and just think that I am responsible for my actions, and I'm responsible for people that I care for that are in this car with me. And I don't want that on my conscience. And also, I'd just like to say that if you are getting into a car and you think that the driver of the car is not all there, that he's distracted in some way, don't get in the car. Thank you.